wash. You got to depend on Herb. Tell us about that cool yellow logo with the yellow circle and the 3 bars. Does that have any special meaning to you? That's the sales velocity logo. And so if you know the sales velocity equation, there's 4 aspects to the sales velocity equation. So so if you look at the circle, let me just kind of highlight that. If you want to know what this is, Herb, here it is. So the sales velocity equation is this, that your sales velocity is equal to the number of opportunities multiplied by your close rate, multiplied by the average deal size, right? Divided by your sales cycle, right? That's how you calculate your sales velocity. Now, when I look at the logo, when I was choosing a logo and it had 3 bars, I said, you know what? These 3 represent number of opportunities, close rate, average deal size, and this represents your sales cycle. So let me just take that out. Sorry about that, Herb. I know you can't see that. But anyway, so number of opportunities right here. Right here is your close rate, your average deal size, and this represents the actual sales cycle. So that's why I chose the logo. Something simple, something cool. You know what I'm talking about. If there is a hater in the group, keep criticizing during the presentation. What should we do? Isn't it a good way to use a response block structure for B2C? Really good question, Victor. This one I face a lot. So usually when you have like this, I don't know if it's so much of a hater in the group, is the person that has to, like a peacock, they have to kind of show off. You know what I mean? There's different types of, it's almost like if you look at comedians have to deal with hecklers, we as presenters, salespeople have to deal with people in the audience who might have different reasons for not liking you. I've already mentioned one. They don't even like their lives. That's why they're projecting them on you. And so one of the things I've learned to do, Victor, is that when I see, and I'll give you 2 examples, maybe. I've seen this example where somebody just has to keep adding their comments, right? They have to keep just, whatever I say, they got to one-up it, right? They got to add another layer. And so what I learned to do is somewhere in the presentation, after they've done it 2 or 3 times, I'll say, for example, let's say it's you. I'll say, Victor, I said, let me ask you a question. You seem to know a lot about this business. How long have you been in this business? And he's gonna say, well, Victor, I've been in this business like 30 years. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of experience. I can see where some of your flavoring is coming in. What's interesting, now that I've acknowledged how long they've been there and how smart they are, right? It's like they shut up. It's been the weirdest thing. I use this all the time. I just acknowledge them and they're like, it's like that's all they wanted was the attention, right? Then I have the negative naysayer. This is not a person, when I say something, they layer something and add to it. This is somebody who's, I say something and they always put a but. You know what I mean? And so what I learned was when they put the but, Victor, so somebody said, yeah, Victor, I agree with what you just said, but, and then they go, I don't, whatever they say, I go, that is a great point. I said, how would you handle that? You just put a but on this. I go, how would you handle it? What is your strategy? Walk me through how you would do it. Now I've put them on the spot. And they're like, oh, shnikey, I got to answer this question. And now everybody's watching. And what I've done, Victor, is that I'm conditioning them that every time he gives me a but, I'm going to flip it on him and says, okay, tell me how you would do that. And now he's on the spot. And guess what happens after 1 or 2 times? They don't say anything. So let me know if that helps. That's I've done that. I'm telling you, it works. How would you introduce a personal story when you're in a call? Oh, it's a good question here. I like this one, Jeffrey. This is like, it's on topic and it's a good one, man. So let's do this one. So on a cold call, remember, the tricky part of a cold call is that I don't know if I would introduce a story right away because I'm trying to grab their attention on a cold call, right? So I don't know if I would introduce a story, but you know how in a cold call you can pivot. Hi, my name is Jeffrey Anthony. I represent a company that works with your industries, and we typically help companies, in your ABC industry, increase sales by 10 to 20%. My question to you is, are you the person I should be talking to? And let's just say that they are. Yes, I am. And then here's when they say, yes, I am. And that's where you have an opportunity to insert some humor. And you can just say, and again, I'm just talking out loud here, but that's where they said, yes, I am the person. I said, I'm so glad I found you. Finding you was almost as hard as finding my wife. Do you know what I mean? Or something that just kind of breaks the ice a little bit, right? Just breaks it just a little bit. I work with a client who uses humor in a very interesting way to set up the meeting. First, they make the cold call, and then to set up the meeting, he does this. Towards the end of the call, he says, now, listen carefully. He literally tells them, listen carefully. I'm going to send you a $10 Starbucks card. Now, when you go to Starbucks, here's what I want you to order. And he says, order whatever type of coffee it is. And once you drink this coffee, this very special coffee, it's going to solve your financial problems, it's going to solve your mental problems, and it's going to solve your marriage problems, and it'll solve any problem you can think of. And he says when he started infusing a little bit of humor, and he goes, the reaction, he said, Victor, is always the same. They start laughing because it's kind of funny. So it's a way of finding some humor to be natural. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But I would use it in the pivot, once you find the right person. And so that's what I would do. The thing is, money is a motivator, but the trick is obviously it isn't the only motivator. Can we agree on that? And I really hate when people say, Victor, it's not about the money. It's never really about the money, because money will never make you happy. You ever hear that? Money won't make you happy, Victor. It just won't guarantee your happiness. Well, here's one thing money will always guarantee you. Listen carefully. Money will always guarantee you this. That's what money guarantees you. Options. And we love options. Think about it. When you're making money, you have options. In fact, you have the option to be happy or not. You have the option of putting your kid into public school or private school. You have the option of paying cash or leasing the thing. You have an option of buying the house. Bigger one, smaller one, you have options, right? And so that's what money really does. It gives you options. You want to help a family member out? You have options, right? When you don't have money, you don't have options. Now, I always say that money is important, but also the environment and the context matters. And we can talk about that later, but let's always keep in mind, money matters. Okay, when somebody says, Victor, money won't make you happy, I want you to reply, but money will guarantee you options, and that's what we all want. So let's go with the options. My man, Doug Liman, what is the biggest lesson you learned in researching from writing your book, Sales Ex Machina? Thank you, Doug. The Sales Ex Machina book is the book I wrote on artificial intelligence, which is, I co-wrote this with my man, James Anderson, Dr. James Anderson, Sales Ex Machina. By the way, when you join that, Sales Velocity Academy, all my books are in there, including the Sales Ex Machina one. So the biggest lesson I learned, it really answered, one of the things it allowed me to answer was the question, will AI replace my job? Doug, that was the big lesson I learned. That was the big question I learned to answer. And the answer I learned, I answered it in an AI format, that you shouldn't look at whether AI will replace your job. You should ask yourself the question first, what tasks do you perform to do your job? In other words, if you're in sales, what tasks do you provide, do you do to do your job? And then those tasks that you do that are repeatable, that are monotonous, that you can kind of do them automatically all the time, do it the same way every day, those are the ones that will be AI'd out. So one study showed that on average, people spend about 33 to 35% of their day in actual sales activity. Let's call it 1/3 of their day in sales activities, 2.5 hours. But what if you can AI some tasks, have the AI do some tasks for you where you don't have to do it? Like for example, I talked about Connect and Sell or Seamless AI, where it will make calls for you until it gets somebody, and then it'll alert you that somebody actually picked up the phone. Now you let the machine do it. So all of a sudden now, maybe instead of just selling 1/3 of the day, maybe you can move that number to 50%. So that was the big takeaway for me as I was researching the book. Thank you, brother.